All right, guys, you're listening to the Sabotage Show, and I have a very special guest with me tonight. I have Lotus Prince with me. Say hello, Lotus Prince.
Good evening, everyone.
And I just want to start off the show by saying I am a huge fan of you, sir. And
Oh, well, thank you very much.
well, no, thank you, because I am actually not a huge gamer myself personally. I have, I'm 30 years old, give or take, but I in my past I've played Nintendo 64 and NES and all of those before. But what I was looking for when I started searching any Let's Plays before I even knew what they were was somebody that would kind of share the same interest in the same kind of game styles that I do enjoy, which is a lot of a mix, I guess you could say. And when I found yours on Manic Expression, because I didn't even know at the time that they had Let's Plays on Manic. You were playing. Well, I it's kind of funny because at the time I was like, I don't even know what these games are. It was Amnesia, and that was
Oh, that's yeah, that
yeah.
that was a fun one.
And watching you play that was like it was like playing it through my own eyes in a sense because I had started playing it days before you did, and I
Oh, nice.
and
That's a coincidence.
I stopped playing it just to watch you play through because I was like, this guy is intriguing, and I just want to know why did you decide to start doing these?
Just Let's Plays in general.
Yeah.
Actually, it's kind of funny because I was this is back in I started in 2010, and around that time and a little before, I was aware that Let's Plays existed, but I actually made a point not to watch them
Mm-hmm.
because I figured that they were utterly pointless because I really put them into two categories: games I have played and games I have not played. And
Mm-hmm.
I figured that for games I have played, well, there's no point for me to watch that game again. And for games that I have not played, no spoilers. I'll get to the game myself.
Mm-hmm.
And it never really occurred to me at the time that there are different reasons for watching Let's Plays because I figured just for gameplay footage. Like there was a time where I was playing Ico,
Mm-hmm.
and I wanted to know how to get past a certain area, and the game facts guide wasn't quite specific enough, or I wasn't reading it right, or whatever.
Yeah.
So I looked up a little video on YouTube, and I was like, okay, that's how you do it. And then I backed off, and that was, that's as far as I went into
Mm-hmm.
Let's Play territory.
So it was almost like
But
a walkthrough for you in a sense, like an episode, a quick way to get a walkthrough and then continue on your gaming.
yeah, I figured that Let's Plays were walkthroughs of games, and they should be used as walkthroughs, and that was about it. This was before I really actually followed Let's Plays because I watch some from different producers now
Mm-hmm.
for reasons I'm about to get into because I didn't expect this at first.
Mm-hmm.
But I was browsing thatguywiththeglasses.com, and one of the users there, Paw, he had done a Let's Play or two before, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, I was like, yeah, whatever. I passed them over because they were Let's Plays. But all of a sudden, one day, he put up episode one of King's Quest V.
Mm-hmm.
That blew my freaking mind because I grew up with King's Quest just because of the games I happen to have in my house. I grew up with 2, 5, and 6.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew this one guy in elementary school who knew about the King's Quest games. Obviously, my family did. They were in our house. And my cousins did. And nobody else. I couldn't really talk to anybody about these particular kinds of games. I mean, there was Doom at the time. You could talk about Doom with
Yeah.
people. Everybody had that. It was a shareware and everything.
And
But
Quake.
King's Quest, point and click adventures, while they were more popular then, were still a very sort of niche specific genre. So even my friends whom I grew up with since like the fifth grade, those were games they did not happen to play. So I tried introducing them to King's Quest V in college, but the game is extremely finicky to run on newer computers. But one of them had an NES emulator, so they looked at the really bad NES port. But bad NES port aside, it's one of those games where you don't fight things, you don't have a health bar. It's like you see a snake in the path. Okay, walk up to the snake.
Mm-hmm.
It bites them. You die immediately. And they're like, oh, this game sucks. And I'm like, oh, no, you don't understand. So when I saw King's Quest V, like a Let's Play of that, I
Mm-hmm.
figured, well, forget what I'm thinking about Let's Plays. I just want to see, like, it's cool to me that someone else has heard of this thing, so I want to see what this guy has to say about it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I started watching his LP, and obviously he went through the game. But then there was the thing that I did not realize that the commentary could be just as interesting as the Let's Play itself. So you could actually watch Let's Plays of the same game from different players, which I actually have done on occasion, just to see that person's particular personality or particular take on it. Some people do really funny Let's Plays, some people do serious ones, some people do speed runs, things like that. So the nature of the gameplay and the nature of the commentary can all be different. And one thing I did not consider, well, I should say one other thing I did not consider, is that there are also games that are worth watching in Let's Play form because you haven't heard of them at all, and you might be introduced to something, or it's a game that you're never going to play. Like this is another one that happens to have been done by Paul, but he did an Alice game for the Commodore 64, I think it was. I've never heard of that. And at no point in the future do I plan on getting a Commodore 64. So I was very interested to see how that game played out. So it could also introduce you to games that you might not have otherwise heard of. And like I said, can also give you the commentators' take on it, which I found refreshing. So I initially planned to do a Let's Play of King's Quest VI, but hardware and technical issues got in my way, so I didn't get until that one until much later. So I figured I'd start with something, with me it happens to be Typing of the Dead, but I started with something that not everyone does, like whatever game came out yesterday, so like not everyone is doing, and not even really one that's that popular, so it might be interesting to see, if only for novelty's sake, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. And so, one of the things that, because you talked about you following other Let's Plays, LPers, and one of the things I noticed, because I haven't followed many myself, but one thing I have noticed in the few that I do follow, and the reason you stand out so much in my mind, is because you are very well spoken. And I find
Oh, I see. Yeah, thank you.
no, really. And for listening to you play, and you're funny too because you get immersed in the game. And I remember one time you were doing one. I can't remember what game it was. I believe it was the Japanese Valentine's Day. What is that called again?
Oh, yes. The sequel to Valentine's Day, in a manner of speaking. White Day.
White Day. Yes, the halls. Yes, it was a creepy game. First of all. So here I am. I'm sitting in my room, this dark room, first of all, and I shouldn't in any way be intimidated by an LP, but you're really experiencing the game through somebody else's eyes. Really, that's how it works, right? And I'm watching you play it, and the way you're talking about the game, and you're immersed in the game, and you've played this game in your past, but the way you're playing it is like you're legitimately playing it for the first time. Because
well, that one's kind of an exception. I played that one for a half hour to test it, but other than that, that was my first time.
oh, so it did really affect you that way.
Yeah, that game was quite intimidating. I had looked it up somewhere. I forgot where. There was some website. I couldn't tell you which, but you could probably Google it and accidentally stumble across it. It was a top X list of underrated or not as much heard of scary horror games, and that was on the list. And I had heard that game was particularly scary even among horror games, and that it had been patched to make it less scary. Apparently the original version was just absolutely horrifying. So I'm like, really? So I had to take a look at that one. It was buggy as hell at the time when I figured,
Yeah.
or when I stumbled across that website. So by the time I downloaded it, which was really quite recently at this point, that was when some really cool translator and bug fixer did the project almost entirely by himself and made the game playable to a non-Korean, non-Windows XP audience.
Yeah, and that's one thing you did mention in your Q&A as well, I believe, was that you had to actually get this game to work properly on your PC because it was not really meant for modern PCs for multi-core processing.
No, not really. Even if I did find a physical copy of the game, which I have now done, I haven't tried installing it because at this point there's kind of no point. But because I already have really a superior version. But even if I had gotten that to work, I think the game was buggy just anyway. So and of course it would be entirely in Korean, which I cannot read a word of. So with a game where a lot of the puzzles are text based, I would have had a bad time.
Oh, definitely, yeah. Unless you can learn the second language that quickly just to play a
Yeah,
game.
or if there's or if there's a game facts guy that helps you out, which actually there are. So I could have kind of stumbled across it, but certain things were kind of context sensitive, so that could have I might have been able to get away with it because I think the worst puzzles were number based, but even so, it would have been tricky, and I would have lost the flavor text.
Yeah, yeah. Now, I did notice one thing is because I do watch most of your LPs, and especially when I can find the time now, because it's kind of one of those things I have mentioned in the show before, talking to other guests that my idea, because I don't watch a lot of television. It's funny because, well, I won't get into details, but I don't watch a lot of television, and I have the option to. But I
No, I
prefer
don't much
to
anymore either, actually.
really like. I find it just dumbs you down. I mean, that's personally how I feel, but
In my case, there are it's just a matter of I know there are a bunch of really cool shows out there, but I just kind of I'm one of those people that if you show it to me, I'll probably like it, but if you don't, then I won't really pursue it myself.
yeah.
So, and even the same thing goes with anime, because I like the anime that I watch, but if you don't turn me in its general direction, I won't go seeking it. So, like for example, Breaking Bad, I hear that's like God's gift to television, but I just haven't gotten on it yet because kind of partly laziness, but I'm sure that once someone throws episode 1 at me, I'll be nonstop.
Yeah, that's actually exactly what happened to me. Somebody had given me a burnt DVD of it or something crazy like that, and I was like, I don't know, I don't know. I sat on it forever, and the guy owned the copy. And he just said, watch it. He forced it down my throat basically, and I watched it, and I was like, all right, I love the show, and I'll, and I haven't watched it really basically since a couple of seasons now, but it is a really good show.
Yeah, I hear it's highly addictive.
It is, and I can't stand addictive TV because I hate watching TV. I really do. I like movies, I like film, and I like a good Stephen King novel. And
Oh yeah, I like some Stephen King novels.
it
Those
can.
are some fun.
Oh, they are definitely. But I want to talk a little bit more about you and your show. And I wanted to say that first of all, is this the equipment you use for recording your LPs?
What, like the
The
microphone?
microphone.
Yeah, I have two. One I got for like $25 at a Best Buy, so it's a cheapo headset microphone, though it gets the job done. But you can kind of you could probably hear a little bit of a difference between it and the quality of my audio in the Amnesia LP that comes in a lot more clearly because a couple of my friends actually chipped in and got me for Christmas this snowball microphone that one of my other friends who's also an LPer uses himself, and it's
Cool.
very high quality, so that's pretty awesome.
Nice. Yeah. I did notice like from your early episodes, like I'm talking when you first started doing this, because I have gone to your backlogs, your
Yeah,
earlier
before
episodes.
Eternal Darkness, my audio was garbage. Although to be fair, that isn't really the mic's fault. That was my fault because I think I felt one day I was coming in a little quietly, so I adjusted the mic's amp volume because I figured it'll just make it louder, but it also increased sort of the digital feedback, so it sounded like garbage if I ever raised my voice, and I didn't realize that that was the problem for a long time.
Okay, I see. Yeah, and they do make microphones like PC mics. Like there's the Blue Snowball, I believe it's called, the
Yeah,
Yeti,
that's exactly the one I'm using right now, actually.
and those are very good microphones. I've looked at them myself, but I've got a full setup here. Like I've got a mixer, I've got like the actual gear here. So I was looking at that one. I'm like, I could always use a backup just in case, and that would be the backup to have, and it's good quality.
Yeah, it's awesome. I don't have the popper filter that makes my my P's and my T's sound more tolerable, but it's still quite good.
No, and that's one of the things. Like I said, you were very well spoken. So when I listen to your show, it's like, or your LPs, I call it show, but
Well, yeah, well, give or take.
and you do have a few subscribers. I could actually on Manic Expression. I'm looking at your YouTube account because I do watch a lot of your stuff on YouTube. It's an easier way to get to your older episodes, and
It really is, yeah.
and you have grown in subscribers since I've even started watching. Do you find that that's a really positive thing, or do you feel like it's almost become more of a job than it is entertainment in your life?
No, because the only part that really feels like a job is my obligation to get it out on time. Like, oh, I'd better get one each day, but that's kind of part of me being neurotic because if there's ever something that comes up where it's like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm going to be out today, then, it's really not the end of the world as long as I drop a note or something like,
Yeah.
catch you guys next time or whatever.
Yeah.
But otherwise, really, it's just me playing video games that I particularly want to play, so I'm having fun anyway. The only games where I might not have a good time are ones that I have not played, so I don't know what to expect, or ones that are extremely difficult and I keep dying or something, even if I like the game. But that has been
Yeah.
extremely rare, and there hasn't been a game I've played through yet that I've just plain disliked. Like, usually I know or I have a sense of what to expect going in, or I've already beaten the game and I know for a fact that I like it, which is why I chose it.
Yeah. And when you speak of games like when you blind play a game, which is it can be very difficult. I'm assuming, like, I've never done an LP myself. I've done a couple of test LPs just because I've enjoyed the game itself, and I want to just kind of give you my experience, which has only been 4 games, or I should say
Oh,
1 game, 4 episodes. But
I
for
mean, forgetting LPs, I mean, blind LPs are just, I mean, it's just you playing a video game they haven't played before. So, I mean, that's pretty much all it is. So you don't know what to expect. Maybe it'll be hard, maybe not. Like, who knows?
and do you
Like, the only
prefer
thing that
that?
changes about the LP is that I know that I can be more confident to just plow through the game.
Do you prefer that? Do you prefer the previously played, or do you really enjoy the idea of a blind one? It kind of immerses you more. It pulls you into the audience's perspective of the game, especially when they haven't played it and they're all
Yeah,
watching it for the first time.
yeah, it's really debatable. I still struggle to determine which I find to be better. I actually asked this to some viewers before, and they seemed to generally prefer the blind ones because I won't have to act my way out of drama or tension or something, and like the scares, for example, will be real. Like
Legitimate, yeah.
for Eternal Darkness, the infamous bathtub scare. I'm like, well, I'm gonna activate that now. So I mean, the first time I almost fell out of my freaking chair. So the but as far as creating LPs are concerned, I really like the ones that I've played before because I know how to get through the game and I know how to get secrets, for example. Like I destroyed the first Deus Ex game in the LP because I'm doing all sorts of side missions and getting things that I had no business knowing about and making decisions that I couldn't have predicted in advance because I've beaten the game before or like knowing passwords in advance. And then there's blind LPs like Deus Ex Human Revolution, which that was really cool because it was blind. So everything would just hit me in the right way. Everything would be unexpected, so I could be just as wowed as everybody else. The only problem is that if I'm not going to play the game as well, and especially if there are people in the audience who have played the game, they're like, "Oh man, you could have done it so much better if you'd only done this instead," or like you missed an item back there or whatever. And these are things that I wish I could have known, but that's impossible. So I don't. With blind LPs, I give you more of, I guess, a visceral experience in that
Yeah.
my reactions are your reactions. Everyone's new at this. You get to experience my genuine reactions. On the other hand, I do not get to give you the complete experience.
Yeah, because then you're solving the puzzles, which can lead to a lot of editing in the end too. Like on a video that's supposed to be, 20 minutes when it actually ends up being 40 minutes because you're trying to figure out these puzzles or
Yeah, that's
yeah.
that's been a thing. I did Killer 7 relatively recently, and this was me being stupid because I should have known this better. But there was a puzzle in there that I really did have to edit out like 15 minutes of, and I just faded out and back in like, oh, I got the puzzle. On the other hand though, if it's a logic puzzle, if I know it already, then I can get you through it so you can see the next thing. And I can explain the logic behind it, like the Silent Hill 3 Shakespeare puzzle. But on the other hand, I think it was Penumbra Overture. There was some sort of chemical mixing puzzle that was actually quite difficult. And that took me about 5 to 7 minutes to do, maybe even a little longer. But I kept that in because there was the satisfaction of slowly figuring it out. And once you do get it, if it's blind, you like really feel proud of yourself because they did not hold your hand with that one.
Nope, nope. I remember that one too, and that was one of the games made by the same people that made Amnesia,
Yes.
which was they're very good. I find that they take I like to call it the South Park approach, and I'll explain. South Park uses really dumbed down images to help you focus on the story itself and what they're saying. And I found that that storyline that they use in that game, they'll do the same thing. It's not the best graphics, but they really want you to pay attention to the art form, and I really like that. And having somebody like you play the game, it's like it just makes it immerses you in the game, and that's one of the best parts about your LPs is that you get really immersed in it because it's like it's legitimate, like you said, your reaction to the game, and you don't have a camera on you like some of them do. I won't name anybody, but some of them have a camera where they'll show their reactions, but yours is legitimate. You'll get quiet when you're scared in a scene or there's a shock moment. And
the webcams can be very, very entertaining, but I don't use one because partly I want you to see the whole screen. Even I know you don't have to make the webcam thing bigger, but I just feel that seeing something else moving might be a bit of a distraction. But again, that's something you get used to, so that's just that might just be my personal taste. I know a lot of people really like that, but also I don't think that I would make a very entertaining webcam view because, like you said, I tend to go silent when I'm startled or scared by something, or like if you look really closely. I mean, webcams tend to be in low resolution for the purpose of being able to convey the image more instantaneously.
For the FPS,
the higher the quality, the more of a lag you're gonna get. But with the webcam, for me though, if you looked really closely, maybe you could see my eyes widen or something. But otherwise, I don't have that kind of, shock and horror reaction that some people do. Like I know there's a whole series of videos that are like, watch these players get really scared by some insane event in Doom 3 or Dead Space or something like that. But I just kind of don't react like that, so you wouldn't really get much pleasure out of seeing it. Most of the vast majority of what you would see from me with the webcam on is just me sitting and staring and talking in my monotone. You're not going to get you're not going to get crazy reaction. There are exceptions to this, but they are extremely few in number. And I play a lot of horror games. I just kind of don't do that, and I can't even really explain why.
And you know what? I guess that's, like I said, one of the things I like about it is just being able to hear you speak and watch the gameplay footage. It's pretty much all I need because that's what you're there for. You're pretty much there for the gameplay footage and to have somebody that can actually voice over and commentate over the play itself, which is the whole point, in my opinion. I mean, like I said, I do follow others, and actually a couple of them don't even do the LPs anymore. But and one of yours, I'm pretty recent too. Like the last 3 months, I would say I've been watching your LPs, and it's been awesome.
Oh, thank you.
And I have to say though, I do want to say, Silent Hill. Up until I watched your LPs on that, I could care less about the game. I've known about the game for years, but watching you play that game, like the series, I should say, has been amazing because you go from the first one and you talk about the second one. Was it your favorite?
Yeah, it's debatable, but I would probably lean toward the second. But in general, it does appear to be a toss-up between 1, 2, and 3 as far as fans are concerned.
Yeah.
No, I just like 2, and that might be partly because it's the first one I played. But if you ask anybody, even if Silent Hill 2 isn't their favorite, they'll still say that it's particularly iconic. I mean, you see Pyramid Head in every form of Silent Hill media, and that is for a reason.
Yeah, it's almost a nostalgia liking for the game because it just brings back memories, I guess. Kind of like Resident Evil, the first game. Like it looks terrible. It's really not that great of a game, but it definitely holds its place in a timeline. I find anyway.
That's true for most people. I kind of can't say that because the first Resident Evil game I played was Remake, which is kind of the first game, but on the GameCube. But it's funny because everybody who plays Resident Evil talks about that first scene where you see a zombie, where you come upon your partner's dead body, and the zombie looks up at you.
Yeah.
And now I saw the remake version, and yes, that was scary.
Mm-hmm.
But everyone said that the PS1 version was scary, and I looked at the PS1 version years later. I can see why you'd say that, but it just looked goofy to me when compared to the GameCube version, because it always looked like the zombie was kind of slightly grinning not even grinning, like smiling, because there's no teeth. It just has this tight-lipped face, just kind of looking at you. I see why that would be scary when the game came out, because you've never seen anything like it. But I'm coming off of a more realistic version where the mouth's open and he's got stuff dripping from it. So when I saw the PS1 version second, and I was like, oh, I guess.
Yeah.
So like I didn't have that quite the appreciation, although the first game still is quite difficult.
It really is. I found the same thing too because I did play the first one, and I think that one I think it has such a big fan following because much like I guess you could look at Final Fantasy VII, uh,
Hmm.
it was the first of the third dimension for gaming consoles for that platform I should say, and
Yeah, I mean, you had Alone in the Dark, but that was even more polygonal. Like, I don't know if you've seen Alone in the Dark, the first one, but wow. Like, I mean, you can appreciate it for what it is, but if you don't know what it is, look up gameplay footage of the first Alone in the Dark. You will never believe how people took that seriously if you hadn't played it yourself back in the day.
and it was at the time like Quake when Quake was out it was such a popular game but Alone in the Dark came out and there was a few I think at the times I'm looking back at the days of the 3DO games like
Oh, sure.
Escape from Monster Mansion came out and all those games were coming out at the same time. It was all zombie games and they were really popular at the time. And you look back at them now and they just look horrible. Like
Yes, same idea for the Sega CD games. It's like, oh my God, real actors, like graphics will never get better than real life. But like then you look back at them and you're like, well, the games themselves weren't that great, and the resolution is part of what makes the presentation work.
yeah, it definitely does. Unless it's a damn good game, and then you can just get a more like Mario Brothers was great for a reason. It doesn't have to be the greatest graphics, but it pulled you in, and then
Yeah, and even going back to the Sega CD, this didn't use digitized actors, but Snatcher, yeah, you've never seen a game that good. Like I don't like no one's played Snatcher because it's an extremely rare game. But if you ever magically are able to, oh wow, like you will be blown away.
have you are you able to use your capture card to play that?
I could. I actually did have the game because I got lucky and found it. Not found it, but like it was at a game store and they were selling it for $350. So like I did not touch that. Because I mean I want that game, but give me a break. But
Yeah.
months later, they had heavily discounted it, so I picked it up. It was still rather expensive when you think of what games cost, but it wasn't anywhere near freaking $350. So I actually still do not have a Sega CD, but if I were to get one, then yes, I could play it. But if I were to LP it, then I would absolutely do it with my friend Vice the Bold, who I've done one LP with earlier, technically two, but I haven't put that one up yet. That's coming up relatively shortly. But I would definitely do Snatcher with him because he's the one who introduced the game to me, and he has more of an intimate knowledge about the game and the references it makes because it's a very Blade Runner ish game. The game is Blade Runner. It just kind of is. It's what if Hideo Kojima wrote Blade Runner? That really kind of is the game on a basic level.
Well, I hope it works out. Maybe one day we could actually watch this. It would be
Yeah, I would
fascinating.
love to. It's a visual novel game, so it's gonna take like like if you're willing to skip things, you can plow through that game. But that game's all about the dialogue and voice acting. So I don't know if you saw Corpse Party Book of Shadows, but that game took a lot longer than I could have let it take because I was letting the actors speak because the voice acting just carries that game. Same idea for Snatcher. It's not about the action. You're never gonna watch this and say, "Whoa, Lotus Prince sure is good at Snatcher." Like that wouldn't make sense. It's not that kind of game. It's a dialogue option game. Now I say that and it might sound like it'll turn you off, but trust me, if you haven't seen it, this game will blow you away for the story alone. It's nothing but story, and you would not believe how good it is.
Well, I'll have to try to look into that a little bit more. Maybe read into it before I watch any LPs, if there are any available to begin with.
Oh, there
but-
probably are. At the very least, people could emulate them. And other people do own the game. In fact, Vice the Bold owns the game, and he owned it before I did. And he got that game at a steal. The price he paid for it is freaking criminal. I can't believe how he pulled that off.
Nice. Yeah. Now, do you have any future projects in hand that we can hear about tonight?
I guess I'm currently on a Suda 51-a-thon, so I'm getting toward this is going to date the recording, but at the time of this recording, I'm nearing the end of No More Heroes, so logic dictates that No More Heroes 2 is coming up next. But after that, I'm also going to cover Shadows of the Dam, Lollipop Chainsaw, and Killer is Dead. But after No More Heroes 2, I'm going to break things up a little bit for the sake of variety, and I'm going to try to, assuming the files work, which they should. But I'm going to put up a very small LP that Vice the Bold and I recorded actually a long time ago. It's just that I wanted to time my things so that Amnesia was the 50th LP and that a Suda 51 game was the 51st. Har har har. But
Yeah.
after No More Heroes 2, we're going to put up a very small co-op LP that Vice the Bold and I played. And it's another humorous game like Shut Up and Jam Gaiden, but it's a lot it's really short. I expect the thing to be only like 3 to 5 installments long, but it's a really good game.
No, that's excellent because I find with a lot of LPs out there, you get a lot of NES games, Super Nintendo, and Zelda, Mario. You know the usuals, which I really do enjoy. Don't get me wrong, but for you, I get to go to your channel and see things that I have not seen LP'd before, which is
Oh,
pretty
there are tons.
fascinating.
Yeah, there are a lot of LPers that'll tackle, whatever. But the Mario ones do appear to be pretty good go-to ones because at this point the NES and SNES are painfully easy to emulate. I
Yeah.
kind of like lived on that in college
Yeah.
because it's just like, oh, it's just that easy because I was a Genesis kid, so I didn't have either system.
I had the Sega CD. Yeah,
Oh wow.
I
Yeah, I
know.
never did have the CD. I went from Genesis to N64, I think. Yes, that's what I did.
I went from the Genesis to the Sega CD, which I had a couple of games for. I think one was called Deadhead Fred. Yeah. It was,
Deadhead Fred.
yeah.
Really? I thought that was PSP.
Oh, you got to check it out. Deadhead Fred for the Sega CD. It was.
Get out of here! Don't
It,
tell me that was a remake. That's crazy.
it must have been because this one was one of the worst games I had ever played, but it was Sega CD, so it was like, oh, this is like real action. Like I was excited, right? So
Huh.
at the time I didn't care. I was like, oh, it's a game. It's on a CD, and it was really kind of the first of the CD games too. And then I ended up getting the N64, of course. And then got into Zelda. That wasn't until that time I actually started playing the Legend of Zelda games. So Ocarina of Time was really the first one I actually cared about.
That was a brilliant, brilliant game. I don't have the gold cartridge of that one, but
I do.
that's something I might actually want to order on eBay. Not just because I'm a snob and I want the gold painted cartridge, but there actually are some differences between it and the gray cartridge.
I would like to ask you, if you still have time, what are the differences? Because I actually do have my original gold cartridge from
Oh, good for you.
1997.
Well, I could tell you a few that I remember off the top of my head. This one I don't care so much about, but some of the versions of the gold one have some exploitable glitches. I mean, just like not to make gameplay better for you, like not like infinite ammo glitches or anything, but just amusing glitches you can do where you can like just screw around with the game that the gray one appears to have been had fixed. The design on the mirror shield. I think in the gold version it was like a crescent moon, but people thought that might have been leaning a little too much toward like Islamic symbols or whatever. So I forgot what it was changed to, but I think the mirror shield on the gray cartridge version has a different design on it. Also in the fire temple, in the gray version, you got your music. In the gold version, you have your music as well as some chanting in the backgrounds, which I think actually was Islamic in nature, not religious, but I think it was like it might have been I forgot what language, but it was a language that would come from the Middle East, and so I think they removed that from the gold version when they moved over to the gray version because I don't have that. And the last thing I remember, and there might be more things, but the last thing I remember, because this is something that really stuck in my head because I was surprised it went there, and when I bought the game for myself, it wasn't there, was I don't know about all the blood in the game, but certainly when you kill Ganon, or beat Ganon anyway, you know how you go into that ultra slash thing, you stab him in the head and all that? He has red blood. In my version, he has green.
No way.
I'm pretty sure, yeah. It's been a long time since I played the game, but I remember that kind of not bothering me, like, oh, I wanted more violent, but like it was more like, What? They changed it?
Wow, you know what?
I'm pretty sure I have green blood in mine.
I will have to look at that again because I have an old save file. I'm talking old. I
Oh yeah,
remember.
I haven't played the game since I don't know. I mean, I beat it a few times in a row when I had the N64, but I haven't played it since that time. So that was like something crazy, like when I was in high school or something. So this is like 2004 or earlier.
Yeah, this is going back quite a ways. But I will have to check that out right away, actually.
Yeah, I mean, you could probably look up comparison videos on YouTube or something, but if you have a late save file, then just load the thing and look at your shield right now. You'll probably see the crescent moon. I think I have a different. I think there's a different design to that. Again, I couldn't tell you what it was because it's not something that would stick to memory because the first one was apparently controversial, but it's just kind of like a whatever design, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm sure that's not what they were going for with the original design of the game. It's just something that people happen to notice, like.
Well, that combined with the chanting, I could actually buy that they were going for it, but whatever the case, I mean, again, I have no authority on this matter whatsoever, but whatever the case, somebody didn't like it, I guess.
Yeah, I would assume so. Yeah, that's how it usually works. But
Because I mean, sometimes games will have subtle references to various religions or some mythologies because it adds flavor. Maybe this was one of those examples, or maybe it wasn't, and it really was a coincidence. But whatever, someone got heated over it, I guess.
oh yeah, for sure. And there's always going to be somebody that notices something that they might make a bit of a bigger deal out of it than is necessary. I guess you could
Yeah,
say.
this is the kind of thing where, like, in the Nintendo days, everything that had crosses on it was either censored or not brought over to the US at all. I remember La Pucelle. I cannot believe that America got that game at all because that entire game is not actual Christianity, but like everything is churches and crosses and like it's a fantasy universe, but seriously, guys, it's Christianity, but like they had to cut a lot of stuff out. I can't believe we got that game at all. They must have really liked the sales for Disgaea or something.
Oh, I'm so glad that they can't ban everything because there's a lot of good games out there that there's a
Well,
good
not to
chance we
mention,
wouldn't
we're
see.
more aware of how to import things now anyway, so even if they do ban stuff,
Yeah, there's always
whatever,
ways.
man, I'll buy your NES cartridge that works perfectly in the NES without modification. Just play the damn thing.
Yeah, and that's
Actually,
what I
wait,
love
no, I'm
about
not
it.
sure if that's true. That might have been true of the SNES. I forgot about the NES. Maybe I'm wrong with that one. But either way,
Yeah,
and even if it's not the case, then you can import the system yourself. Doesn't matter.
yeah, yeah.
I
That's
mean, I've imported Berserk for the PS2, both JoJo games. You know, I'm paying good money for your game. I'm playing it. I don't care if you're selling it in my country or not.
yeah, yeah. It's still money. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, not to the developers, of course. I'm buying them on eBay because I can't go to your Japanese store and buy your game. But still,
yeah. Well, is there anything else? Oh, actually, I did want to ask you a couple more questions.
oh sure.
Would you like? Do you have a Facebook page? Not a personal page, but a Facebook page that you have, maybe a Twitter account.
I actually do not have a Well, I have a personal Facebook page, but I actually do not have a Lotus Prince Facebook page. I don't know if I have enough of a follower base to that would like warrant making that. Like, if I were to make it, would that get any kind of activity? Like, would it be worth it? I don't even know.
I would say
I guess
yes.
I could try it to see what happens, but eh. Like, and I'm not inclined to give him my personal one, but like, I don't know if I'm popular enough to warrant a um whatever the word is for not personal one, the fan page or whatever you call it.
Yeah.
I do actually have a Twitter account that is at Lotus Prince. You know, I don't think there's a space. I think it's just at Lotus Prince. I get this confused with my Twitch TV name. I think I have an underscore in that. I think it's just at Lotus Prince with no spaces.
Okay.
This is I use the account all the time, but like I have it remember me when I log in, so I'm a little lazy when it comes to remembering my own name, which is rather embarrassing.
Well, in that case, you don't have to log in yourself. You don't have to remember anyway. So
Yeah, I mean, try without spaces, and if that doesn't work, then try an underscore. But I think it's without spaces, just LOTUSPRINCE.
Oh, I got it. Yes, it's hashtag at Lotus Prince on Twitter.
Okay, there
I
we go.
found it.
Yeah.
There you go. I just made
Yeah,
your
that's
life a little
embarrassing.
easier. No, I understand. It's actually very modest of you, which is one of the good qualities that I guess you could say too. But I would like to say thank you for taking the time to do the show, and you have a lot of fans out there. I'm hoping they get a chance to listen to this because this is this is what I'm trying to do here is just get your name out there, 'cause, and I like your work a lot too. So
Oh, well, thank you very much, and thank you for having me.
no problem. If you ever want to talk again, let me know. And
Yeah,
guys,
absolutely.
stay tuned. We're always going to be doing more shows, and you can follow me on Facebook, the Sabotage Show, and or follow me on Twitter. I guess it is at the Sabotage Show. See, I'm even confusing myself now with this. But guys, thanks for
Yeah,
listening.
it's one of those things. If you ever change up your username, it's like which username goes to which account.
Yeah, it's pretty simple, I guess, now in the end. But all right, guys.
Yeah, there's only so many combinations you could do.
Well, thanks for coming on the show, and thanks for listening, guys. Talk to you later.
Thank you once again.